Welcome everybody. I'm Robert and I got Harry here with me and Double D. Today I will be turning some maracas in preparation for Cinco de Mayo. I've got a piece of oak here that I'll begin turning around if Dee Dee wants to go through the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, everybody. We've got Sid's Repurposing, Douglas Mungham, Mr. Stacy Smith, Lawrence Bugasia, and Rob with Copper Owl Woodturning have all joined. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome, guys. So once I get this fully turned and sanded, I will be planning to ebonize it.
And Steve Banana Boy Twidell has joined.
Welcome,
Greetings, Steve. Henry Morgan has joined. Greetings, Henry.
Turn the speed up a little bit. I guess I didn't point out, but there is kind of a bark inclusion here, so I'm going to make this side the handle to hopefully get all that turned away, and this will be the rattle side, if I guess that's what you want to call it.
It is an interesting piece for sure. Blair with Good Turn Daily has joined. Welcome, Blair.
Welcome, Blair.
Hopefully having a nice day in Utah.
Move the tool rest a little closer. So this is going to be a little bit of a small maraca, I think, just because of the size of the wood. I guess it could be a baby rattle, worst case.
Yeah, we're expecting some nice weather here in Kansas. We've got a high of 84 today and sunny.
So we got a little bit of a flat spot here still. Let me make sure it's all the way across. It's round at the far edge here, but keep taking it down a little bit more. A little bit more to go. I think that's close enough to being round, and yeah, most of this will be turned away once the handle's done. I'm gonna go ahead and make a few marks on it. I want the handle to be roughly, the width of my hand, and turn off true up the ends so I can put a tin in on both ends.
Steve Fleming has joined. Hi, Steve.
Welcome, Steve.
Hodge, with that skew, did you buy it round or did you make it round?
Yeah, it's an Alan Lacer signature skew, and Alan Lacer is a fan of this half curved skew. He gave a bunch of explanations on why he thought it was better than straight skews, but you'd have to go check out his website for those. I don't remember them all.
Okay.
But it made sense when I was watching him do the demo, so that's why I bought them.
Now, I have one skew. Thank you. Huge shout out to my good friend Blair over at Good Turn Daily for sending me an extra skew that he had. I've actually started using it some on some stuff trying to familiarize myself with it. So
I'll check the tenon size, see if I've got them small enough. I can go a little smaller. I mean, I turned maracas for my video tomorrow. As the first time I ever made them, but I mean, I've made a baby rattle a few times, which essentially it's the same thing, or it's also like a box with a stick on the end of it. So it's nothing too crazy. Alright, that should be good for the tenons. Now I'll just make some marks so I can tell where the handle is, and then make a parting cut just so the pencil line doesn't get erased and I forget. So now what I'm going to start doing is shaping this globe to a rough melon shape, I guess. I'm just going to use a bowl gouge for that.
you're not going to make it into a sphere this week?
No.
So hopefully everybody has some good plans for their weekend. So Hodge, where'd you get this piece of wood?
I probably got it for free off Facebook. It's just oak, which grows all over the place down here in Houston.
I had a person on Facebook take down a very large silver maple. And so I went and picked up one piece yesterday when I was out running errands for the shop build. And there's about 8 more really large pieces. So I kind of want to take my chainsaw back and get some more of it.
Yeah, that's the second wood I ever got for free. Was the first one was sweet gum before I ever had a lathe. And then I saw a post on Craigslist that had a silver maple tree, and like the trunk was probably at least 3 feet in diameter at the base. And then basically once I got it, I was like, yeah, my electric chainsaw's not going to handle this. So I had to call up some guys in my club to come over, and of course they took a few pieces. One of them wanted to make a cowboy hat. And then,
Fun.
yep, and then sadly a lot of that wood just kind of rotted because of the flood that happened, and I never got around to turning it.
Right. John S. Casting is in the house. Welcome, John.
So,
Blair at Good Turn Daily says he loves making baby rattles. One tip, use real BBs. Don't use anything plastic as it sounds terrible.
yeah, I'm using pinto beans to, you know, Mexican theme and everything.
Oh, that's fun. At least you're not using refried beans.
Yeah. So I've got it basically to a melon shape. I'll true off all this stuff at the end. And then I don't want to take down the handle too much because I still have to hollow out this side. So I'll take it down a little bit just so I get a better idea of how deep to go once I start hollowing it out.
Steve has a question. He goes, are you doing the cap method, Hodge, or the half and half?
I plan to cut it. I'm not sure what those methods are, but I plan to part it off somewhere in the middle, and then I'll be putting a series of beads with my D-Way beading tool, so it'll hide the seam.
I would imagine that's kind of what the half and half is.
Yeah.
You cut it in half,
And then a cap,
as opposed to just a little piece of it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Steve, you can clarify if I spoke incorrectly there, of course.
All right. I think I need to lower the tool rest a little bit. get this a little more round here at the bottom. Now, I don't really want to get this to its final shape right now because I'll glue everything back together and have it between centers, and then I'll do the final kind of cleanup on the outside.
So you sand last then?
Yeah, just in case there's any kind of misalignment once I glue everything together. So
Sure.
I think that's good. There's some cool little rays from the, what do they call it, metallurgy? Metal.
Medullae rays or something
Yeah.
like that?
So I'm going to use my 1/16 inch parting tool. Maybe it's 1/8 inch. 1/16, I think. Just pick in the middle.
Effie Smith is here. Welcome, Effie.
Welcome, Effie. Now when I part, I kind of tilt it one direction and the other to widen up the gap in the middle. I could also take a small, like, half cut to make it wider than the blade, just so nothing gets bound. And then I'll just go about as comfortable as I feel. I think I'm down to about 3/4 of an inch. And I can just cut that with a saw. Which, I need to get my saw. That was one thing I didn't plan. Where the heck is it? Might have to go use the bandsaw just in case. I have a Japanese pull saw, which I usually use for this kind of stuff, but it's not hanging on the magnetic piece. So I'll be right back after I cut this.
We'll be right here waiting.
So I'll go ahead and hollow out the handle side first.
Steve T says there are 3 ways of doing a rattle or a maraca. You can either remove the handle and hollow the rattle from the bottom and then replace the handle with a mortise, or the second way is the half and half like you're doing, and the third way is cut the top off like a lidded box and then replace the cap. So that's what those meant.
Steve, there's also a video on YouTube by Ashley Harwood who takes 2 long strips of wood, drills a series of Forstner holes in it, then glues it together, and then she'll make like 6 of them out of this big long blank, which I thought was pretty awesome way of doing it if you're trying to do a lot of them.
Tommy with Tommy's Workshop has joined. Hello, Tommy.
Hello, Tommy. All right, so I got this mounted on the chuck. Let's see if it's pretty true.
Todd with Duca Heritage has joined. Hello, Todd. Welcome.
Move some stuff so I can slide the tailstock out of the way. Really need to organize my work area better.
Todd, I started watching your shop update video, and then I got interrupted by some guy named Hodge that was going to do a live, so I didn't get to finish it. I will here in a bit, I promise.
So lower the tool rest a little bit, switch to the tailstock camera. So I'm just going to start hollowing out from the center. I'm going to lower the tool rest a little more. Actually, I'm going to use Harry's friend, Jacob, to speed things up a little bit.
Harry's friend has 2 first names, Jacob and Chuck.
Yep. So I'll turn the speed down to about 500. I think that's deep enough. Looks about right. So now I'll hollow out the rest of it. Obviously it's not too critical on how nice the inside of this is, since you'll never see it unless something goes wrong.
But if you don't sand it smooth, it might scuff up your pinto beans.
That's all right. It gives the instrument a more raspy sound, kind of more soulful.
Todd's asking, where's Tim? I pulled off the finial captive ring. Well, I would say it's like 6:17 in the morning and he thinks he needs to sleep or something, so those silly West Coasters. Rob with Copperall Woodturning made and used his first jam chuck last night and turned off 2 tenons. That is
Nice.
awesome. Archie Monty has joined. Hello.
No, I think yesterday or this week when I turned these before, I ended up making the tenon portion of the box first on one, but then on the second one I did it second. So I mean, it's either way works. So I think I'll put the tenon on the outside of this one.
Steve has a question. Could you please tell me what is the purpose of the piece of wood underneath the tool rest? And I know we kind of went over it last week, but we noticed that made a big difference in the quality of the lighting. But I know you have other purposes that it helps you serve Hodge, so I thought I'd let you chat about
Yeah,
that.
so I'll just explain it now. Basically, it helps more with the overhead camera. In this case, mainly if I was using a lighter wood, it would show a contrast a lot better than, say, if it were gone and you're just looking at the bedways. And I also found that if I have light wood on, the lights from overhead would reflect off the wood rather than this white piece of board here, because I feel like the white absorbs a lot of the light that would reflect off of the wood. So I feel like it just gives a clearer picture. So it's all for you guys. And I guess also if I'm doing something with like spheres, it gave kind of a better contrast in the background. It's kind of like if you just had a sheet of paper back there so you can see the ghost line better.
You want to switch back over to the tailstock
Yeah,
cam?
my mistake. Can't really see much anyways, but...
No, actually we can.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you could see, I don't know if anybody noticed it, but if you go back and play this, you'll see as Hodge moves the whiteboard just a little bit, you'll see that the wood washes out when the whiteboard's not behind it. And then you get the color back as that piece of wood is replaced. So it is pretty interesting to see.
No, I don't want to go too thin on this because I'm going to be putting a lot of beads. So the V portion between beads kind of goes deeper, so I wouldn't want to like accidentally cut through the wall when I'm adding those beads. All right, that's good enough for the inside. It's roughly 3/16 maybe.
I was going to say it looks close to a quarter right in there.
Yeah, it's a little less than a quarter. So now I will take my skew and just form a little tenon on the outside here for the other section to fit over.
Steve says, with my baby rattles, I add a tip to them so they serve as a spinning top as well as a rattle. So when the child gets older, they still get enjoyment from it.
Cool. This would be a pretty big rattle, I suppose. All right, so I'll call that done at 20 minutes. And then I'll mount the top piece.
I'm interested to hear how much. I mean, I don't think it would make a whole lot of sound as it spins with the
No.
beans in there because of centrifugal force, of course. But every time you start and stop it, it's gonna rattle a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. So, move that so I don't have. This shows how much I use a Forstner bit. I never use it for the most part. That's why I always forget about it.
Yak Branson has joined. Hello, Yak.
I'm just
Tommy wants to let everyone know he is on a boat fishing while he's watching this. So that's how
okay.
important you are, Hodge.
That's cool. I mean, I remember in college, this might date me, but that would be like early 2000s. There was a song that was kind of from Saturday Night Live called I'm on a Boat, and that was a big hit at the bars. If any of you guys haven't seen it, it's kind of like a comedy song. It's probably on YouTube.
Todd says that the jet is getting so bad he's been measuring the play between the bed and the head on wide bowls. The gouge gets hit and bounces at the rim. Wow. Well, hopefully that Rikon comes in pretty quick.
Alright, so now I need to remember that I need to cut this edge to fit that tenon that I just made. So I just kind of turn it a lot smaller than I know it needs to be, and then I'll just kind of inch up on it. So that'll be fine. Switch to the tailstock view.
Is there a certain number of beans you always put in a maraca, or do you vary it?
That's varied. I never,
Completely
yeah,
random.
I haven't Googled it to see if there's a recommended amount. I guess it just depends on how much shaking you want to do. I'm going to use my skew and just kind of go in to get a perpendicular wall to the bed.
Woodturning by Barry has joined. Hi, Barry. How are you?
So now I'll just kind of fit it. I'm have a way more to remove, at least a 1/16 of an inch, I would say. But and if you get a French fit, doesn't really matter because you'll be gluing it.
So when you glue these up, do you use wood glue or CA glue?
I'd typically use wood glue, but since it's quick, I'm planning to use like thick CA, I guess.
Thick CA and activator.
Yeah. I mean, I did wood glue yesterday or this weekend and turned it basically right after I put it between centers since it's held in by pressure. And it seemed to work out fine. So, see if that's any better. Still have quite a bit to remove.
And Malcolm Douglas has joined. Welcome, Malcolm.
Welcome, Malcolm.
And don't forget, if anybody is impressed by Harry and his amazing talent in these programming, make sure and mash that thumbs up.
Alright, so I'm getting there. Still. Actually, I'm kind of getting thin on this wall, and since I'm adding beads to the outside, I kind of want to make this thinner, start fitting the male part to the female part. So I'm going to finish hollowing out the inside here to as thin as I want to go, and then I'm going to put the handle piece back on.
Vicky Jenkinson has joined, says, hey, Robert and Daniel, can you do me a favor? My granddaughter's here. Can you say hi to Jamie? Absolutely. Welcome, Vicky, and hello, Jamie. Welcome to Hodgepodge's channel.
Hello, Jamie.
Hopefully you're having a good day up there in Wyoming, Vicky.
All right, I think that's as thin as I want to go there. So now I'll put the other piece back in and start taking off wood from the male portion. Make sure it's true, looks good. Get my skew again. I'll raise the tool rest a little. I suppose this is probably the easier way to do it, because then you don't have to move the tool rest in and out as much. A little bit more. Almost there.
Yeah, Todd said that he heard back from Jim Sprague, and Jim Sprague has also indicated that doing premieres, the notifications don't go out quite the same. So the views haven't been quite as good. So it'll be interesting to see as you go, Todd, over the next few how things go.
All right,
And Frederick Day has joined also. Says sorry he's late, but he's been at the woodturning store.
Welcome, Frederick.
And spent more than he should have. Don't we all?
So I could probably force this on if I wanted to, but I'll make it a little smaller so there's room for the glue.
I actually had somebody in my woodturn. I was telling Hodge before the broadcast, but I have a friend in my woodturning group that told me about a website where they do. It's an online auction for stuff, and I actually just got a fence rail set up for my bandsaw. That's like a $210 tool. I just got it for $6.
All right, so it's a good fit. The grain looks like it matches up pretty well. As far as this little bit here, that matches up well.
Yeah, that goes really well.
A little bit off there. And then there's a little bark inclusion here that's kind of missing. Probably should have parted it off in a better location. But, all right, so that's good. I will get my beans and pour them in. That's probably too much. Looks too big for it. I'm going to go with maybe 10, maybe a dozen. And then I will get the glue, which I will be using Starbond Thick. If you want to save 15% off, I've got a coupon code in my description below. And then I need to make sure I can get the tail rest up and put the live center back in. So that way I can bring it up and hold them in position. I don't think it matters too much since it's a fairly tight fit.
What was it they said in Wayne's World? Something about product placement?
Yeah. I forget what they say.
Yeah.
But
It's been a while since I've seen that movie.
Garth's all wearing Reebok and eating Doritos, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and Wayne was drinking a Pepsi.
Yeah. So I need to make sure to align the grains when I put these together. A little bit more. All right. and bring up the tailstock and apply some pressure.
Vicky says, I like the idea of leaving a hole in the bottom to attach the handle. And that works sometimes. It's just a lot harder, I think, depending on the size of the piece you have, to hollow out that interior that way for the Maraca.
I'll go ahead and wipe away the excess glue. I'll be turning off a good bit of the wood, so I'm not really worried about any kind of staining. Well, maybe I should. Maybe that would prevent the ebonizing solution from absorbing. So I'll just leave it as is. I mean, it's not going to move with it not being using the activator. So now what I'll do is just kind of do some cleanup cuts on the melon portion, or the rattle portion, whatever you want to call it. Remembering not to take off too much material at the seam.
Vicky says, but you guys can hollow anything. Well, I can't. Hodge has that really cool laser hollower that works really well.
Yeah.
Soko Joko Michael over at that channel has one of those too.
Well, actually,
they look really cool.
He's got the Soko Joko, or Michael, he's got the laser system. I have the one that's actually a video camera.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you've got the TV that lines everything up right and all that.
Yeah.
I agree, Todd. I agree. Todd says cheater.
It does feel like cheating. I can't deny it.
Mark Inman has joined. Hi, Mark. He says, wipe it off. Don't want an eye full of CA. Would not be a good day.
So I'm
Agreed.
just turning off the nub over here because I don't need the tenon anymore.
And speaking of that website I was just mentioning about getting that fence, Mark is the gentleman from my woodturning club in Kansas City who introduced me to that website that has all those auctions. So he actually went and picked up my fence that I won yesterday on the bid. So I'll be picking that up from him next time I'm pretty close to Kansas City.
That's cool.
So huge thank you, Mark, for one, telling me about that website, but two, picking up that fence for me.
So now I'm just going to start roughing out the handle and getting rid of a bunch of the waste wood so I can finish off the bottom profile of the rattle.
Yeah, Todd says, been there with the flinging CA. Yeah, I had that happen with some black CA, and I'll probably try and get some pictures, but where my lathe sits right now, there is black CA splattered all over the back wall behind it, and on my old face mask, and I have clothes that have black, I have a sweater that has black CA splatter marks on it, and yeah, fun times. Mark, you'll have to send me pictures of the new chainsaw you're picking up. I have a huge silver maple that a person in town here took down that I'm going to go pick up some more of later today.
Now that I'm turning a smaller diameter, I need to lower the tool rest a little bit and move it away from the chuck. I don't know if you could hear it, but you could hear the beans rattling a little bit when I turn the lathe on.
Yeah.
So
Todd says there's lines up and down the sticker board. Do you need new stickers from us, Todd?
I think I'm going to leave a little decorative kind of V transition to the handle. I put a bead in the other ones I did, but I'll change it up a little bit. So I'll see how long I want this. I'll probably try to get as much handle as I can here when I part it off. Switch to a detail gouge.
Steve says, looks like a rattle bomb at the moment. Todd says,
Yeah.
mortar. Like an old World War II, World War I hand grenade. Frederick's asking, is that one piece of wood? The grain is great.
Yeah, it's one piece.
Yep. And then he said, would you consider just ebonizing the handle? Just his thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is not the greatest wood to ebonize since it's got the cool heartwood, sapwood. So maybe I'll do that. And let's put it to a vote, I guess. What does the chat want to see?
Well, personally, I love that graining in the rattle part.
All right. I've been hand sharpening this detail gouge, so it seems to be cutting kind of weird. Or maybe I'm just trying to take off too much with it. Let's switch to a skew.
Todd says handle only. That's his vote. Douglas says leave the rattle natural. Frederick Day says, yeah, the grain is great. It would be a pity to lose it. So far, the votes are all just ebonizing the handle instead of the whole thing.
All right, works for me.
Are there any naysayers among the watchers? Vicky is also handle only.
Try to do a little bit of a rounded bottom here, but it's tough with the lack of space that I have. Can always sand all this round at the end. Say that's good for now. Make it a little thinner. Turn the speed up.
Yep, no one has said anything other than handle only. So. Oh, we have a different vote. Steve T wants you to paint it pink and add yellow spots and then a pretty red bow. So it's 1 to like 45 now.
All right. I'd have to find the pink paint.
So you're saying his one vote just overrode everyone else's?
No, I'm just saying if you know, it happens.
Just in case it catches on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Copper Owl's asking about any texturing. I know you're going to do some beading around the seam to hide that. Any other texturing you're going to do?
I wasn't planning on it. I'm going to switch to a different gouge to clean up this cove a little bit better.
Archie Monty says, while these are more human-sized Hodge, you should make a pair half the size for Harry.
Maybe.
And Peter Corcoran has joined. Says, sorry he's late. Greetings, Peter. Welcome.
Greetings, Peter. All right, I'll just sand that smoother. Now I want to go ahead and sand everything, and then because I can't use the sandpaper on the beads, otherwise it'll flatten the beads. So I'm going to sand all this up to like 220, and then do the beads, and then sand the beads with 320 and 400.
And Duncan the Curly Turner has joined. Hi, Duncan.
Welcome, Duncan. Turn my dust collector on, turn the speed down, put it in reverse.
I'm actually really excited. I ordered a lot of stuff for, of course, I'm doing my shop build for those of you who follow my Instagram and are going to be watching my channel, but I just got a notification that my dust collector is going to be delivered on the 5th on Cinco de Mayo. So that will be my celebration.
I grabbed the wrong sandpaper. I thought that wasn't doing very well.
I was going to say, what'd you start off with?
Yeah, it's 240, and I was like, this is taking forever.
Hate it when that happens. I actually turned my first pin the other day that I started off with 240. Normally I start off at 180.
Did you
with my pins,
do
but
it with a skew?
actually that is the one I did with the skew, so I was pretty proud of that. Steve T says, it's a Maraca. Soak it in Moroccan mojito.
Maybe.
I don't know if they make mojitos in Morocco, but it's all good. I'm sure they could make them anywhere. And one sounds really good, actually. With your beading tool, does it take long to do the beads, Hodge?
No, you can. It's quick.
I just didn't know if beating the handle or something might be kind of interesting look too to try at some point. Not,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be. I don't think it'd be fun to ebonize that, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
No, I think ebonizing in the cracks might be a little bit of a pain.
That was my thought, that it might pool and you get the darker lines and it wouldn't look even potentially.
Do you guys want the melon part to be shiny or kind of a oil type finish? I guess we'll see what it looks like with the ebonized handle and then go from there.
Frederick Day says, is Hodge or Harry coming to the UK for the Chestnut Products Woodturning Weekender in September?
No, I'm not planning this time. Eventually, I'll probably make it over there for Maker Central or one of these wood turning extravaganzas.
We have a vote for shiny.
All right. So that's 120. I'll go ahead and go to 240, and then I'll do the beading. Also, with the ebonizing solution, you don't want to sand too high before applying it, because if you go to like 300 or 320 or 400, you might burnish the wood a little bit, which will make it harder to absorb.
We have another vote for shiny, and we have one for oil. Vicky, the challenge for May was announced. It was announced over on Will Makes Everything's channel. I will put a link to his video in the chat, but the challenge for the month of May is mimic. So take a picture or something and mimic it.
All right, bring up the tool rest to do the beading. I'm gonna go ahead and put some small beads. This is a 1/8 inch bead. It's a D-way beading tool. It's really easy to use. You put the flat side that has a flute on the tool rest and just hold it up there. You want the top side to be almost parallel with your bed lathe, so I need to lower the tool rest quite a bit.
We have one vote for shiny oil and then another vote for oil. So 2 for shiny, 2 for oil, and 1 for shiny oil.
So you just kind of put the points in, and then you wiggle it back and forth left to right a little bit till you see the middle of the bead come in contact with the tool. so that one's done. And now I don't know how many I want to do, but I'll put at least 3.
As I say, for Cinco de Mayo, you should do 5.
That makes sense. I'll do that.
Seth with Brickhouse Craftworks has joined. He can't stay, but he wanted to say hello, so hi and bye.
Welcome, Seth. So there's 3. I think I'll put more to the left or to the right because there's more space, just to try to balance it out.
Stacy Smith has asked, do you need a YouTube channel to do the challenge, or is Facebook good enough? No, you absolutely can on any form of social media. Just use the hashtag YTCCC2021 with your post, because there are a lot of people that are following that specific hashtag, and then they will be able to see what you do. So absolutely, you're welcome to participate in any form of social media. It just started out with YouTube and went from there. And Dr. Bob has joined also. So greetings, Dr. Bob. Says he always enjoys watching your decision making.
Welcome, Dr. Bob. Go ahead and sand 320 now. There's a little bit of tear out on one of the beads, but it's oak, so it's kind of tough to avoid. I still want to be a little delicate sanding the beads because I don't want them to get flat. So I'll just kind of lightly touch them.
So do you leave that bottom one right, or the bottom and top ones right by them? Do you typically leave that straight in, or do you try and round that off a little bit?
Well, the other ones I made, I chamfered it, which I forgot to do on these, so I'll go ahead and do that here in a minute.
Okay, I just didn't know. I mean, it doesn't look bad. I didn't know if it might look a little smoother transition if those were rounded a little. So
I would say so.
Cool.
That's 320. I'll go ahead and chamfer those and actually take down more of this stuff on the edge. Let's use my point tool for that.
Copper Owl is now asking, Rob with Copper Owl wants to know, where is the seam? He says he doesn't know, but I think it's between the second and third from the bottom.
Yeah, so the only way I know is because this little knot inclusion was to the right, so the seam is this third line, I guess. But yeah, you can't even tell really. Here you can kind of tell because this grain is slightly off, but this grain is like perfect, so you just kind of have to pick and choose which one you want aligned.
And we have another vote for oil, so that's 3 votes for oil now. Chris Spinningwood Dodger has joined. Hello, Chris. Welcome.
And how many for shiny? Isn't it like 3 or 4?
2 for shiny, 1 for oil shiny, or 1 for shiny oil, sorry, and then 3 for oil.
And then pink with polka dots.
Yeah, which I think we could just throw that one out because that's the only one. We have another one for shiny, so now we're back to a 3 for 3 tie with 1 shiny oil.
Oh, damn.
As well.
I just realized I'm sanding the handle, which I shouldn't be because of the ebonizing not soaking in, but I didn't do it too much. I think it should be okay.
Oh, we have another vote for oil. Steve T says there is no seam. It's all done with beaver magic.
All right.
And another for shiny. We are back to tied.
So since it's such a close one, I guess I will do the ebonizing first. I'll move this tailstock out of the way.
Oh, Todd's changing his vote to pink with polka dots.
All right. So one thing with the ebonizing solution, you want to cover anything that's iron and that has the potential to rust before you apply
2 more oils just came in.
So
another shiny.
Here's my ebonizing solution.
Oh, Duncan keeps typing shiny over and over.
It's just vinegar and steel wool. So I will open that and get a paper towel and put a glove on. As you can imagine, this stuff doesn't smell too great. I made this probably like, I don't know, 4 years ago. And all you
I was
really
gonna
have to
say,
do,
based on the coloring, it looks like leftover water from the hurricane you guys had a few years
yeah.
back.
So I just put a little bit on there and rub it
How did
on the
how does
handle.
it smell?
Like rusty pickles, I guess.
Ugh.
And you just kind of apply it, and you'll see the magic happen pretty quickly. And you don't really need that much.
So you made it 4 years ago. How often do you use it?
Not that much. I think I'm going to start using it a bit more just because I have a bunch of oak and I'm getting bored of regular oak. This is kind of interesting because this has such, the heart and sapwoods are reacting so much differently. It looks like the heartwood turns a lot more black.
Effie just voted pink with polka dots, but since the ebonizing has begun, we're going to have to forego the voting on coloring now. So now it's just down to oil versus shiny on the rattle part.
Put a little bit more. I don't know if it'll do much.
So obviously it keeps for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it can't really go bad. It's already like bad. I don't think anything wants to grow in vinegar.
Right? Always makes me wonder, why do they put expiration date on sour cream? What does it do? Go good?
All right.
Yeah, Douglas and Duncan are going back and forth, both just saying oily and shiny back and forth a lot. So, okay, so Archie Monty thinks that Todd should do hairy-sized maracas for the May challenge.
All right. So I don't know what you guys are voted. I'm gonna go ahead and
I say we do. I'm going to go with
time
oil.
is 9 minutes.
I think the oil will go well with the ebonizing.
Is Vicky still on?
That's my vote. I believe Vicky is
See
still
see
on.
if Jamie wants to say oil or I don't know how old Jamie is, but
Let's see. Yeah, we can say let Jamie
what does
choose.
Jamie pick? Oil or shiny? Being a kid, I'd expect shiny, but we'll see.
Yes, Vicky is on. She was picturing black lacquer instead of how the ebonizing works, which is dark as wood. So yeah, Vicky, what does Jamie want to see? Oily or shiny? Shiny.
All right.
Vicky,
So
Jamie has spoken.
in that
Shiny it
case,
is.
I'll put some sanding sealer and I'll use friction polish. So apply some sanding sealer real quick. This is Mylan sanding sealer, but I thin it down with like 20% lacquer. I try to get inside this little V groove down here. I was able to keep the stain pretty much on the one side of it, so otherwise I could cut off where they intersect. Just trying to get sanding sealer in the grooves here. That's good enough. While I wait for that to dry, I'm going to turn off a little bit more of this nub on the end just so there's less to sand off.
Steve T says a toothbrush is great for applying oil or finish into beads.
That's a good idea. What the hell? Felt like I got bit by something on my finger. I guess technically I could remove the tailstock and turn off this little nub, but I don't know if the glue is completely dry. Alright, I think the nub's loose anyways, or close to it. And it should be dry enough. So now I'll add some sanding abrasive paste, Axe, if you want to save 10%. Got a coupon code in my description below. I don't know exactly how the ebonizing part still feels a little wet, so I might just leave that for now.
Where'd you get those blue shop towels, Hodge?
Costco.
That's where I get mine too.
I've already used the ones you sent me.
I figured you did because they work really, really well. But yeah, I love those things. They're a lot more durable than regular paper towels.
Yeah, and I seem to not be getting as much like lint in the finish when I use these as compared to regular towels.
Yeah, I was somewhere the other night and saw a 10-pack, and it was like $8 more for the 10-pack at that store than it is at the Costco. So I was like, yeah, I'm glad I get that at Costco. Joe Garofalo has joined. Looks like he missed all the fun. No, there's still some fun to be had, Joe, so stick around, and don't forget to mash those thumbs up. Frederick is asking if you're going to put anything over the ebonizing part. I know you mentioned it was still a little wet, so you're holding off on the abrasive, but will you do anything additional?
Yeah, I might just spray it with like lacquer. Or we'll see when I get to the point of adding a sanding sealer if I feel like it's drier. I mean, I guess a little bit of the sanding sealer got on... Hell, let's just put it on there and see what happens. It looks like it works okay.
John Scarborough has joined, says hello. Greetings, John.
As you can see, it takes a little bit off on the paper towel, but it looks like it's keeping it dark-ish for the most part.
That shined up pretty nicely with just the abrasive paste so far. You haven't even put any polish on it.
Yeah.
Chris asks, how, if at all, do you stop the ebonizing?
I don't think you can really stop it. It just kind of gets, I think all it does is the iron acetate or whatever reacts with the tannins in the wood that are on the surface and turns it black. So once all of them are turned black, it's, you know, basically done. All right.
Liking the look of it so far. That graining is just amazing.
I don't know where
in my opinion.
Okay. So now I will use the Axe polish and restoring paste, and then I will put on a coat of sanding sealer and hopefully be done. I don't know if I'll get around to parting it off. I guess I'll part off this end. Maybe I'll part off this end on, we'll see. It'd be a lot easier.
Make sure it rattles appropriately.
Yeah, make sure I can, I think it'd be easier to just cut off this bit on the bandsaw and then sand it with the Jacobs chuck in the headstock. There's nothing really fancy about that, so you guys don't need to necessarily watch it.
It'd just be really bad if you did this whole thing, but so much CA glue got on the inside that all the beans were glued against it, so it didn't work.
Yeah.
That would be bad. Worst Maraca ever. Frederick asked, does it go darker the more fluid you apply, or is that the maximum color it will go?
From what I've seen on other pieces, it seems to like you can apply more and more, but it doesn't necessarily get darker. And this isn't really as dark. I've seen some that get way darker. I don't know if this is like white oak as opposed to red oak, or what kind of oak this is, and if one has higher tannin than the other. I'm sure there's some variety. But on like the normal red oak that you see, some of those can go really black, like my big black clock. That one went really black.
Yeah, that was like super dark.
And I guess that was, I also applied that on the end grains, so maybe that is why, because it absorbs deeper.
Dr. Bob says that a baking soda wash will neutralize it.
Okay.
Steve T says, as oak goes, that is a really nice grain pattern. Oak is usually pretty bland.
Yeah, I think this may have came from one of those pieces that had the burl bowl that I turned. I also have two really big burls, like 16 to 18 inches in diameter, that I'll plan to core one of these days on a video.
Nice. Mark Inman has to sign off. Have a good one, Mark. Thanks for
See you
coming
later,
by.
Mark. All right, let's call that done. And now I'll add the Mylan's sanding sealer. Basically, it's just this right here, but I've put it in a little squirt bottle thing, so it's way easier to apply.
Todd says that sometime it might be really cool to ebonize the beads, or might even be kind of cool to ebonize every other one if you could.
Yeah, well, I'd say
That'd be kind of difficult,
it
I
might be
think. But
easiest to ebonize it all and then go back with the tool and try to cut off the ebonized bit.
yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
So apply the
Never hurts
sanding
to mess around with.
sealer, just kind of liberally, or not liberally, put a lot of it on
Do
there.
you thin down your Mylans at all, or do you just use it
I
straight out
do
of
on
the can?
I do on the sanding sealer, but the friction polish I don't.
Okay.
Now I just, apply some friction, use a bit of force so you can feel the heat beat up, and then that'll make it shiny. As you can tell, it's reflecting the light a lot more.
Yeah. So you like that Mylan's friction polish?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of friction polish, because, as I understand, it's shellac based, and shellac doesn't go well with water. So anything that like a pepper mill, for example, kind of, I think, from what I understand, I'm not an expert or anything, but water kind of will eventually mess up the shellac finish, from what I understand, but I could be wrong.
Steve T says that the ebonizing matches nicely with the dark grain streaks.
Yeah, and I think, with the beads being kind of darker, it kind of looks kind of cool with it.
Yeah. Douglas Mungham says, Frederick, if you soak it in black tea, then let it dry, then ebonizing fluid. Maybe that makes it darker.
Yeah, because there's tannins in the tea.
Yeah, they just get soaked in.
All right.
Jeanette Nance is in, says, thought you meant the beads inside to be ebonized. That's how I took it the very first time I saw it. I was like, why would you care?
All right.
Duh.
So
I'm
there
glad
it
I'm not the only
is,
one, Jeanette.
looking kind of shiny. So
Kind of shiny.
I'm gonna go ahead and try to just take off this whole nib on the.
Can you put that whiteboard behind it again real quick?
Yeah,
Or did you take that off?
I mean, I
I'm
took
just
it off,
thinking that
but
it's kind of washes out the graining on that a little with it being shiny, and yeah, there you can see the graining a little bit better. Nice. That is beautiful.
so I'll go ahead and turn off the little nib here on the. There's a little bit of a crack here that's full of axe paste at the moment, but I can just blow that out or in, and then fill it with CA eventually.
I have to say, good choice on the shiny Jamie. Good call on that. Vicky says that Jamie and her both really like it.
Okay, so that's off. I really want to try to turn off the whole thing. So there's just a little nib thing here to sand and apply finish to. And then I'll cut off the end, but I'll do that off air, I guess. But there we are.
And it rattles. Yay.
So
Very well done.
kind of looks like an egg in the shape of the top. A squatty egg, sort of. But I think the color choices from Jamie turned out pretty well as well. So how old is Jamie? Just out of curiosity.
Everybody's saying they really like it. It's a good piece.
I'm happy with the color. Ebonizing looks a little green.
You think that's just because the lighter wood maybe blends it in a little bit?
Yeah, I think so.
Robert Mungham says, looks really good, Harry. Did Robert help? Steve C has joined. Hi, Steve C.
If you can see, there's some cracks there and here that are full of Sandine's paste, so I can probably just blow it out real quick. Yeah, I could probably fill it.
Dr. Bob says you can use a hypodermic needle with your solution to just, or a hypodermic metal with your solution to just add certain grain feature, to accent certain grain features.
Interesting. Probably fill these
Thinking it's a
cracks.
needle, not a metal, but I don't know.
I'll fill the cracks with black CA probably.
Yeah,
But
that look really cool.
thank you guys for watching. Ran a little longer than an hour, but I'll probably put some pictures up on Instagram or something of this on Cinco de Mayo. You know, have Harry celebrating, drinking a margarita.
Yeah, Dr. Bob says it is a hypodermic needle with the solution, so you could dribble it on specific areas, which would be kind of cool effect.
Yeah, I'll definitely play around with that in the future. But thank you guys for watching. Harry's pretty happy with it. He likes
Yeah, there were a couple of comments about his
stuff.
blue smock, so that's a good one. And Todd says his new upload is live on his new video, so go check his out there. And
Sounds good.
Jamie is 12, going on 20.
Okay. Well, I'm glad Jamie picked shiny. I think it was a good choice.
Agreed.
But thank you guys for watching. I'm going to go ahead and call it a day and see you guys later.
Have a good one, everybody.
Bye, everybody.